If money makes the world go round, it can also make it stop.
They use sex and seduction to get the wedding ring of the person that has the money.
A serial wife is a serial killer.
The man didn't have to be tortured the way he was tortured.
An exotic dancer becomes a butcher.
How could she do that to the father of her son?
And a church-going lady is addicted to sex and death.
He would have never, ever slept with a gun under his pillow.
With money on their mind, murder is made easy for the fortune hunters. In Steamboat Springs, Colorado, Halloween is still weeks away. But an odd couple are stalking the streets in disguise.
She was seen a couple of times by different people wearing this same disguise.
While it seems like a joke, the intent is deadly. Jill Kite is staking out a kill.
It wasn't an easy death, and it was a very messy crime scene. It had to be horrific for him.
In the tight-knit ski town of Steamboat Springs, Jerry Boggs runs the local hardware store.
Jerry Boggs was a well-established gentleman in the community. Family had been here for a long time, and he had a certain amount of wealth.
Single mother Jill Kite is new to town.
Jill was the kind of person that fit in very well. She was very outgoing, a very friendly persona.
Jill and her sons are renovating a local bed and breakfast. She soon becomes a regular at Jerry's store.
I think when Jill came along, she showed an attraction to him, and that was exciting to him, and he fell head over heels in love with this woman.
Writer Stephen Singular has investigated Jill's past.
When she was young, she was quite attractive. A beautiful, peachy type of complexion, dark hair. She thought she had a little bit of Native American blood in her, and so that was a bit exotic.
The ex-model knows exactly how to grab a man's attention.
She would come on very strong with men. She dressed flamboyantly, she dressed provocatively, she talked a lot, so she made quite a stir whenever she showed up in the room.
Jerry Boggs is overwhelmed by Jill's southern charm. Within months, the 50-year-old bachelor marries for the first time. But it's a shotgun wedding. Jill has told Jerry she's pregnant.
Honey, look at all the great things I got from the store.
Honey, what are you?
He can't believe his good luck.
He went out and bought all these books about having children. He built this nursery. He was enormously looking forward to being a father. So this was a huge event for him.
But Jill Coite's pregnancy is a lie.
Her stomach didn't get any bigger, and they would go places, and he had friends, and the women would come up and say, "Gee, you sure aren't showing any signs of pregnancy."
Stop it, Maya! Have you seen a doctor? There's nothing wrong with me. Hey, no.
How many times you gotta go? I know.
Jerry's brother Doug is getting worried. Jill is growing very interested
Look at this.
in the finances of the family business.
Just a minute. That's my harbor store. Exactly.
Doug was disturbed enough by this, I believe, to ask a private detective to start to look into her background.
Look at this. These are divorce papers.
Doug hands Jerry an explosive file on Jill's past.
Jerry had found out that Jill was a massive, massive fraud.
Jill Coite has been married 11 times.
Here was a woman with about 10, 12, 14 aliases. Here was a woman with about the same number of marriages.
Where did you get this stuff? It's all.
Here was a woman who had probably been involved in a number of insurance scams and financial scams.
This one thinks she's untouchable.
She had really gotten away with a lot of criminal behavior.
This woman is dangerous.
Jill saw marriage as a means to an end, a way to get money from men.
And this fortune-hunting bigamist is still married to husband number 7. Shocked to his core, Jerry annuls their marriage. Jill doesn't take it well.
Jerry interfered with her financial plans, which I think is her motive for everything she does, is greed and money. And because Jerry was interfering with those plans, she had to eliminate him.
Okay, what?
It wasn't an easy death. It had to be horrific for him.
Jill Coite is an ex-model. A woman of many faces and many dangers, if you're a man.
Jill saw men as a target of opportunity. And I think she looked for men that had trouble with relationships or even having a relationship.
She was so brazen in her use of her sexuality to attract the attention of men and to manipulate them.
Jill Coite is a skilled fortune hunter.
It would take a very strong man and a man experienced in life, experienced with women, to be able to spot what Jill was really all about. Most men couldn't.
Where did you get this stuff?
But her latest husband, Jerry Boggs, has discovered Jill's lies.
Just look at this. I'm telling you, this woman
Distraught, he cuts her out of his life.
Look through this.
Now Jill wants revenge on Jerry. To get it, she tangles a new man in her deadly web. Michael Backus.
She convinced him that Jerry Boggs was a bad person and she convinced him that the only way to get rid of this bad person is to kill him.
Jill returns to the house she once shared with Jerry Boggs.
Okay, what?
There was an altercation, stun gun was used, Jerry went down.
I want you to die! Hey! Hey, Mark!
He was struck violently. It split his face open from the top of his head down across his face.
Jerry stopped Jill's plans to get his money. Now she will have the final word.
I want you to die!
Jill shot him in the back with the .22 caliber pistol.
This man didn't go easy. Jerry Boggs died a very painful death. The man didn't have to be tortured the way he was tortured.
Let's go! Let's go!
Murder's a very drastic measure, but Jill was a very grandiose person. Jill did what Jill wanted to do and thought she could pull anything off.
As local detectives investigate this shocking murder, they discover more of Jill's secrets.
She had been married to men almost all over the United States, and they kept dying.
What are you doing here?
Well, you want
Back in Houston, William Kite was husband number 3.
Well, come on in and make it quick. Seems a little ridiculous to me. I don't understand why you would even consider coming.
William Kite was shot very similarly in the manner of Jerry Boggs. He was shot 3 times in the back with a small caliber handgun and found at the back door of his house.
While Jill is the prime suspect, William Kite's murder is never solved. The death of Jerry Boggs won't fade so quietly.
Let's go! Let's go!
After the murder, Jill makes a fateful phone call.
Jill Kite called her son Seth at the bed and breakfast, and she made a statement.
Hi, baby. It's over, and it's messy.
This time, his mother has gone too far.
When he learned that Jerry Boggs was dead, was absolutely terrified. The last thing he wanted to do was to be involved in this.
Her son's testimony helps close the case against Jill Kite. Found guilty of first-degree murder. She's currently serving life without parole.
I don't believe Jill Kite to this day will even admit that she did this murder. She's a woman without a conscience, and I don't think she's lost a night's sleep over it.
Whatever was in her that keeps the rest of us civilized was not there.
She is a cold-blooded killer. And if we didn't catch her, rest assured she would have killed again. I'd say she's a bad girl.
The vast Arizona desert holds many secrets. Not all of them are meant to stay hidden.
It was very hot, dusty. You could smell the odor in the air. Just a rotten, putrid smell.
October 2004, Phoenix detective David Barnes is called to investigate the contents of a mysterious container.
I remember looking down into the tub and just seeing just a torso and seeing the white flesh of a stomach area of a portion of a man.
The dead man has a story that Detective Barnes will never get over.
How could she do that to the father of her son?
Nowhere. He'll be around this somewhere. There he is. It's the Cowboys.
At age 44, Jay Orban thinks he has it all.
Gotcha.
His business is booming. He has a beautiful son, Noah,
Okay, come on.
and a glamorous wife,
Just have a juice.
Marjorie.
That's right. Okay, you just.
Jay Orban absolutely adored Marjorie. He had a ring designed for her with a large diamond in it. He had bought her a new car. He certainly wanted to ensure that she was living the lifestyle that she wanted.
From the outside, Marjorie seems like a devoted housewife.
She cooked, she baked, she cleaned the house, she did home improvement projects, she cared for her son.
As journalist Shanna Hogan investigates Marjorie Orban's story, she finds a surprising past.
She grew up with ambitions of becoming a professional dancer, and along the way, her life took an X-rated detour, and she found herself stripping.
Marjorie loves having an audience of male admirers.
One of the things she cared most about was being physically desired by lots of men.
Manipulating men is her real skill in life.
She comes across as an attractive lady, very charming, very nice, very sweet, but very manipulative.
She was very good at using others to get what she wanted.
But Marjorie is getting older, and something in her life is missing.
She was able to convince people to give her things, but the one thing that she could never have was a baby.
Then, one night in Vegas, a man from her past appears. Ex-boyfriend Jay Orban has been obsessed with Marjorie for 10 years.
Jay was a businessman. He was a wealthy entrepreneur. And every city he traveled to, he looked for Marjorie.
Desperate for her love, Jay makes Marjorie an offer she won't refuse. Marriage and the baby she wants so badly. But with Marjorie Orban, nothing comes for free.
She made him a bargain. If she would come to Arizona and live with them for 2 years, and if after those 2 years she wasn't pregnant, then she would leave him.
For Jay Orban, it will become a pact with the devil. Years later, Marjorie has the child she wanted, while Noah is the apple of his father's eye.
My birthday boy.
Mom controls his every move.
Marjorie had to have complete control over her son, from what he did to what he looked like. And from an early age, she was actually bleaching his hair blonde to match hers.
You had a great day, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't like him to have any resemblance to his father.
Marjorie has gotten all she ever wanted from her husband. She doesn't need him anymore.
Marjorie was always talking down about Jay. What a bad person he was, what a horrible lover he was, you know, how disgusting he was.
But to discard him through divorce will leave her broke.
I believe Marjorie was to get about $700 or $750 a month for child custody. That's it.
We estimated that his entire estate was about $1.5 million.
To his beloved wife, Jay Orban is worth more dead than alive.
On September 8th, 2004, Jay Orban came home early from a business trip. It was his 45th birthday, but he never made it inside the house.
Marjorie Orban's husband, Jay, is missing. Instead of grieving, she's having the time of her life.
She immediately started to drain the bank accounts. And she bought a $12,000 piano immediately. She had the house repainted. She bought new patio furniture, new water fixtures for the yard. She was maxing out the credit cards. And also, she was hoarding cash.
That's not all. Within weeks, Marjorie moves on to a new man, Larry Weisberg.
They were living like a family. Like, they had dinners together, they watched movies. She even convinced her son to call him Dad. She believed that she was going to seamlessly take her husband out of the picture and put this new man in her life.
Airbrushing one husband away for another is nothing new for Marjorie.
Marjorie was married 7 times before the age of 34. She lived her entire life perpetually in the honeymoon period of every relationship. She was in these very brief relationships that lasted about 2 years, and when she became bored or dissatisfied, she moved on to her next lover.
Former FBI profiler Candice DeLong has seen this pattern in female fortune hunters before.
Number one, they're above average intelligence, and I do believe Marjorie is of above average intelligence. And number two, there's a certain amount of arrogance about them. They actually believe they can kill their spouse and get away with it.
The night Jay came home, I don't believe he suspected anything was wrong or anything was going to happen to him.
Hello, honey? What's going on?
Jay was taken by surprise and he was killed instantly.
Now Marjorie's plan turns macabre. She freezes Jay's body and reaches for her toolbox.
She actually was a woman who was very well versed with tools. Her neighbors would say that when they heard a saw going, they would joke, "Oh, there's Marjorie again with her saws."
When one is using a jigsaw to dismember a frozen body, there will be no smell, and there will be no or very little blood. When one is cutting frozen tissue, it's like going through wood.
To me, this shows an utter disregard, total contempt for the man that he once was. He meant nothing to her. His remains meant nothing to her.
With Jay on ice and the evidence cleaned up, Marjorie has almost committed the perfect murder. But greed is her undoing. She discovers that with no body, there's no insurance payout for another 7 years. Marjorie Orban can't wait that long.
She did what she needed to do. She took part of the remains and she dumped them out there where she knew people were walking through. It was obviously intentional.
Marjorie needs police to find Jay's body. But to a forensic pathologist like Janis Amatuzio, a dead body holds many clues.
The art of identifying tool marks on bone is quite sophisticated. The particular striations or marks on the bone can be compared to a class or a type of pattern of saw blade.
Blades found in Jay Orban's workshop match the marks on his bones. The next piece of evidence helps clinch the case. Marjorie is caught on security camera, buying the same storage containers that Jay's body is found in. Marjorie Orban is found guilty and sentenced to life without parole.
She will spend every day for the rest of her life behind bars. She will be there until her hair turns gray and time has erased all trace of beauty from her face. I think that's the only loss I think Marjorie is actually sad about.
A few years ago, I had to get a post office box because a lot of our mail.
Russell Stager is a man afraid.
Seemed to be disappearing when she got home first.
Afraid of his own wife.
Now, here's my question. Why every time I turn around is she running off to the post office box? Unless
The
there's
high
something
school
inside
football
that she wants
coach
to hide.
puts his fears on tape, just in case. But what kind of monster has her husband running scared? Durham, North Carolina, 1988.
Barbara was kind of like the pillar of the community. She was church-going, Sunday school teacher.
To the outside world, Barbara Stager seems a fine, upstanding woman.
She was very active in her church. She was the first one to show up with a casserole or a cake when someone was ill or if there was a death.
Jo Lynn Snow knew the couple, especially Russell. She was his first wife, and they stayed close.
Russ was so full of life, and he loved kids. He loved coaching. That was his real calling in life, was reaching the kids.
Russell's hasty remarriage comes as a shock.
We were divorced on one day, and he married Barbara the next day. So I was a little surprised that he moved that quickly. But he seemed very happy, and I really hoped it would work out for him.
I'm all right.
Barbara Stager is not who she seems.
Darling, where are we going to get the money for all this?
When you're dealing with public, you never know. They present themselves one way, but they're actually another.
She's a woman with dark secrets. One is her addiction to money.
Barbara's sense of self-worth was very much tied to spending money. Unfortunately, she didn't have that money to spend to make her feel good.
Got a brand new bag. Oh,
Russell can't control his wife's spending.
She was obtaining loans, and she was lying on the loans. She was forging Russ's signature, and then she was getting one loan to pay off another loan. Then she'd get a loan to pay off that loan, and so on down the road.
Lying and stealing aren't Barbara's only sins. In Russell's fearful tape recording, he describes another vice.
When I was coming back through the parking lot, I saw our other car sitting there in the parking lot just alone by itself. I could see two people in the car. Kind of thought that it was my wife, but I couldn't really see that much, so I got closer to it, and sure enough, she was in the car making out with some guy.
Yeah, what's going on? Who is this guy? What are you doing?
He had found her with another man on the day that her grandmother was to be buried. He was just devastated.
When she turned it around on me, she said it was because I wasn't giving her enough affection.
Barbara loved men. She was having affairs when she was married to Russ.
It was just a parade of men.
Barbara is addicted to sex.
What does appear to be there is a very, very strong, powerful disorder, anxiety disorder, that was only quelled by momentary sexual encounters, orgasm, and spending money.
Barbara has broken 3 commandments, and Russell Stager thinks there might be a 4th: murder.
She had a former husband who died, and he was starting to really wonder about the circumstances of that husband's death.
Larry Ford was accidentally shot dead in his own bed. Barbara was the only witness.
As he turned to leave, he said, "If anything should ever happen to me, will you promise me that you'll look into it?" And I promised him that I would.
It's a promise she'll soon have to keep. Russell Steger's wife, Barbara, is out of control. She has lied to him, stolen from him, and cheated on him.
He was really questioning who this person was. Who was he married to?
Now Russell is finally unraveling her web of lies. And he's desperate to record his fears.
A few years ago, I had to get a post office box because a lot of our mail that was coming to our house, bills and stuff, seemed to be disappearing when she got home first.
He told me that he would find her sometimes in the middle of the night taking the key off of the keychain.
Why every time I turn around is she running off to the post office box unless there's something inside that she wants to hide?
He knew then that she was pilfering through the post office box, so even that wasn't safe.
Barbara is starting to feel the heat.
She was about to be exposed for stealing and spending excessively once again, and she didn't want him to find out.
But how far will she go to keep a secret? Just before dawn on a winter's morning, Barbara is woken by a mysterious noise.
When first officers arrived on the scene, Barbara told them that she had removed a handgun from under Russ's pillar.
What's happened here, ma'am?
And that while she was removing it, it accidentally discharged.
And it just went off. It was just accidental. And I've said to him...
The problem is, it's an accident she's had before.
And then so I got Russell's gun. Well, you know, he keeps it under the pillow, and I just dragged it.
With her first husband, Larry Ford.
And, you know, went off.
When we learned about Larry Ford's death, that sent off a lot of signals, particularly when we learned that he was killed under similar circumstances. Same kind of weapon, at his house, happened in the middle of the night, just like Russ. So that raised all kinds of flags.
It was just accidental.
Something about Russell's shooting just doesn't add up.
In the house, because, you know, they're really dangerous and everything.
Russ was an expert in firearms. He was in the National Guard.
You know, sometimes they just go off.
He was an excellent marksman. He was a safety fanatic. I knew that he would have never, ever slept with a gun under his pillow.
The police are also skeptical.
The gun, it had two safeties on it. It has a real small trigger guard. It was not a hair trigger. In order to fire that weapon, you have to intentionally insert your finger in the trigger guard and pull the trigger. I don't think there's any way you could accidentally discharge it.
The chances of a woman losing her husband in her own home to an accidental gunshot wound is extremely remote. That it would happen twice to the same woman is mathematically probably impossible.
Barbara's story is falling to pieces. She's now the prime suspect in a murder. And the evidence is tied together by a voice from beyond the grave.
This is Russell Steger. This is January 29th, 1988, and it's 10 of 2.
That tape was made on a Friday afternoon. He was shot and killed the following Monday morning. But to know that he went into that weekend, his last weekend alive, so afraid for his life, it was overwhelming to hear that.
When I was coming back through the parking lot, I saw our other car.
I don't think she thought she was gonna get caught. Why would she? She got away with it once before.
Barbara Steger claims innocence. A jury finds otherwise. Convicted of murder, she's sentenced to life in prison.
I think we've saved a third man, because I think she would have married again, and she would have reverted back to the same thing, because Barbara is a greedy person. She's all about the dollar.
When the trial ended, I spent a day and I went to all of the places where we had lived. And at that point, I said my goodbye to Russ. I still carry him with me. Sometimes I try to enjoy things 2 times, once for me and once for him.
These deadly women paid their way with their lovers' blood. Jill Kite left a trail of husbands and bodies. Marjorie Orban repaid love with a gruesome death. And Barbara Steger hid a world of lies with murder. In their cold eyes, men were just money, the ultimate prey of the fortune hunters.